Portugal 2, Uruguay nil. Group H. Portugal advanced to the round of 16, 6 points. But is it convincing? Oh, is it convincing? I don't think so, no. I still suspect Santos Ball to get found out eventually in this tournament. But, my thoughts on Uruguay. I thought 5-3-2 was not an optimal setup for this team because Uruguay had to approach this game in a more proactive way. Yet for about 60 minutes of this match, they decided to park the bus. No subs at halftime from Diego Alonso, even though he knew that they had to win this match. De Arrascaeta probably should be in a starting lineup position because he's their most creative midfield outlet. And De La Cruz is another player who I think could add some dynamism to Uruguay's midfield and is good at transitioning on the ball. But of course he didn't play today, which I think was a mistake. For the second game in a row, Valverde had to drop deep to recover balls, even though he's excelled in the last 6 months playing as a right winger. It's just a complete waste of his offensive capability, I think. And Ugarte and Torreira, they're just sitting on the bench, not really getting any action. Uruguay let Portugal control the ball, and Bentancur was basically covering his zone plus Vecinos. Cavani and Suarez are past it. I hate saying that. I love Edson Cavani. He's one of my favorite players in the world, especially prime Cavani, one of my favorite players. But they're just not as sharp or fast as they used to be, and their time at this level is done. I don't know whether they should be starting, especially against the strongest team in this group, which is Portugal. Maybe you could put Darwin as like the lone striker and not be subbed off, but it's a tough one. For Santos, for Portugal, Santos saved himself with that triple substitution at the end. Taking Neves off for Leao when the game was in that state is a pretty bad managerial decision. As soon as Paulinho and Nunes came on, the game reverted back to Portugal actually controlling the ball, and they finished it off with a bit of luck. Definitely should rotate for the final game against South Korea. Maybe we could see the likes of Dalot or Vitinha or Antonio Silva in there. Maybe they'll get some playing time. Or maybe even play Cancelo at the left back and play with him. Play him into form, basically. The Ruben Diaz yellow card was not necessary as well. VAR always goes to check. And, it actually created a dilemma here. Because ideally you would rest Pepe given the yellow. And I'd rest Diaz as well instead of giving Antonio Silva some minutes. But Portugal's a very dangerous team. They have a relatively doable route until the semifinals, where they'll likely play against France or England. But I thought Uruguay was just very poor until actually going a goal behind. And Uruguay created some chances here. They had some lovely sequence build-up play, as we know. Bentancur should have scored. He was through on goal, couldn't get it past the Portuguese keeper. We know that Pelestri, he hit the post. That would have been a wonderful goal because the dribbling of the Uruguayan forwards, getting up numbers and looking for that equalizer, it was great. It was worthy of a goal, but they just got a little bit unlucky in that regard. And Uruguay, they don't look good. They don't look good. They are one of only 3 teams yet to score a goal in this World Cup. That's not acceptable. It really isn't. And they have to win. They have to beat Ghana. And we already know the historical implications of playing Ghana, considering what happened back in 2010. That game is going to pop off. It's going to be insane. But for Portugal, I look at them, I don't see a team that looks like, oh, look what France and Brazil have done so far. They got max points. They're dominant. I don't get the sensation with Portugal the same way I do with them. I look at Portugal as a team as like, okay, you know what? They're kind of on borrowed time still because they're coming up against just inferior opponents. And it's a matter of when, not if, Santos Ball prevails in the end in a bad way and they get booted out of this tournament by the first true quality side they come up against, whether that's in the quarterfinals, whether that's in the semifinals. I think Portugal has the means to make at least the semis, though. Of course, with the right manager, I think they can win the whole tournament, but I don't see Fernando Santos being a World Cup winning manager. Maybe he'll prove me wrong in the next 3 weeks. Bruno Fernandes with a brace in this game. A great right-footed shot that was sent to him from long-range distance on the left to the bottom right corner, assisted by Rafael Guerreiro. It's good to see Rafael Guerreiro still playing an integral role in this squad. And then the penalty that Bruno Fernandes converted in stoppage time in the 93rd minute. I don't think that was a penalty. Jimenez goes to ground. It looks like he's falling back in a natural position, and his arm goes out to soften the landing. The only way that doesn't touch his arm is if he's an amputee. I don't like the penalty rule. I thought it was extremely harsh. I don't like it. I would not have given it, but I'm not an official, and it just seemed like there was no other way his arm could have went while he was going to ground. So, but it sucks. But Uruguay is in a bit of a pit here. They have to claw themselves out at. Will we see La Gara Charrua in the final match?